If we should test the teachings with our own experience, how can we know there is rebirth? You can't. Until you know for your own experience, you can't absolutely 100% know. It's as simple as that. This is something that is very, very common for Westerners, and I've been on Buddhist forums and things like that for many years, because for almost a decade I was a lone practitioner. I didn't have any fellow Buddhists in my regular life and a sangha and all that stuff. So I've been online a lot, and I've seen a lot of the questions that people have, and this is one of the biggest questions. One of the biggest hang-ups people have is this whole thing about rebirth. And really, I guess how I put this in terms of, rebirth is that, I want to put this in a way that's not going to confuse. It's a huge part of the practice. I mean, it's at the core of why we even do this practice, right? If there was no, if this was the only life, then you can do whatever you want, and you die, and you don't have to worry about it, right? But the Buddha is saying that he's seen with his own experience that this isn't the only life, and that our actions have an effect both in this life and in future lives. And you can see even just in our regular lives, we can see what our actions do, how our actions create our experience in this life. We don't even have to think about, what about future lives. I, as a child protective service worker before this, I worked with a lot of people, and I saw, in addition to seeing in my own life, I saw how, there was people who went through all kinds of stuff in their life, and maybe they did a lot of unskillful things, and then they reach a point where they're really honestly trying to change, and that's getting hampered because of all the stuff that they did in the past is coming back to bite them. So it's very hard, even that they created the conditions for their life now in the past, and we all do that. We are all creating our conditions. What we're doing right now is creating a positive, skillful condition for the future, right? Coming here, developing our meditation. So we can see how there's, this cause and effect. We can see that what we're doing actually has an effect on our future. And one of the other things that I tend to bring up is, you might know the Kalama Sutta. If you don't know the name of it, you've probably heard it. This is the one that is so overly quoted and so misquoted. It's the one where it goes, don't go by tradition or books or teachers, don't listen to all these things. But when something is, the misquotes even say, like, go follow your own reason. But the Buddha is actually saying, don't follow your own reason either. Don't follow your perceptions. Don't follow any of this. When you know from your own experience if something is skillful, then do it. So that's what everybody knows that sutta for. But on the bottom part of that sutta, the backstory of the sutta is, there's a bunch of people that go to the Buddha and say, there's all these people saying all these kind of things. How do we know who to believe? And the Buddha's answer is, what he gives. And part of his answer is, he gives 4 assurances. And the assurances go like this, right? If you follow this practice here in this life, and there is rebirth afterwards, then you're doubly rewarded, right? You do good in this life, and you have a good in the next life. If there is no rebirth, then you abide in this life free of ill will, at peace and calm. So regardless of if there is rebirth, and if it's something that's a doubt to you, the most important thing, even from the Buddha's own words, is to do the practice. Don't let things like rebirth kind of creates so much doubt in you that it pushes you away from the practice. That you feel like you have to absolutely believe in rebirth to do this practice. I'll use myself as an example. I'm a Buddhist monk. Do I 100% believe in rebirth? No. I don't know. I'm an agnostic. I've always been. I don't know. Until I see it for my own, until I have the three knowledges, which is the knowledges that the Buddha got when he became awakened. One of them is being able to see your own past lives and how beings are reborn according to their karma. Until that time, I don't know. But it doesn't affect my practice. I still practice. And bit by bit, I gain a confidence and an assurance. This practice, the whole reason I'm a monk, this practice, every step of this practice, to me, in my own experience, has shown that the Buddha has been right. So at this point in my practice, I say, you know what, he's right about all this other stuff. Maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt about this, the other stuff. Maybe I'll be open-minded about it. Maybe I'll be agnostic about it. I don't have to say I 100% believe, but I can be open-minded about it. And I can allow it not to be something that totally dictates your practice. It's important, it's a very important thing to understand, especially as you get deeper into the practice. But it's not something that needs to dominate your practice. It's not something that, it's more important to kind of see how your actions affect your future. I think that, in the beginning stages, you see that. And as your practice progresses and the Buddha is right, and right, and right, and right, and then, maybe you start to open up a little bit. I've always, I guess I can say I've always kind of preferred rebirth. Even though I grew up Catholic and I was always hearing heaven and hell, I remember being like 8, 9, 10 years old thinking, I'm pretty sure I was Alexander the Great in a former life, or something like that. I was like, I think I was that guy so rebirth always, I guess, was more appealing to me than the idea of, like, eternity in heaven sounds really boring to me. I don't know. But in Buddhism, the heavens and the hells are not eternal, so we don't have to worry about that. So, at this point I would say, do I 100% believe? No, but if I was a betting man, I'd pretty much bet on it, just from my own experience and, seeing that the Buddha has been right there. So, I guess that's all I have to say about that.